Our final speaker this evening is Joanna Finnegan. Joanna Finnegan works with colleagues in the National Library's Digital Collections Department, both on the NLI Web Archive and on Born Digital pilot projects. She's previously worked in printed books and outreach departments in the National Library. She has been curator of the prints and drawings and ephemera collections and on various projects in the library to do with catalogues and collections data. She has a Master's in Library and Information Studies, an MSc in e-learning. And Joanna, along with her colleagues, is such a fantastic partner for us in the 100 Archive and a real advocate for what we do and what our two organisations do together. And maybe that has something to do with the fact that her studies began in the area of design and visual communication. So with that, over to you, Joanna.
Thanks very much, Aideen. I'm absolutely delighted to be part of this event and to be speaking along with Emma and Christine and yourself. It's just a really wonderful opportunity to celebrate digital this week during Heritage Week. I work in the Digital Collections Department of the library with my colleagues Maria Ryan and our Digital Preservation Manager Kieran O'Leary and my colleague Della Keating, and we work together with a wider team of technical and library systems colleagues. It's great to hear the voice of journalists and designers. Sorry, I'm just trying to move my slide along here now, and the gods of technology are not smiling on me. Sorry, excuse me for a second while I do this. Can you see that there now? I hope you can. Are we okay?
We can't see anything yet, Joanna.
Okay, presenter view. Okay, can you see that?
We can, yeah.
Yeah.
We can presenter view.
Okay, oh, right, okay. So you can just see the slide or you can see my notes?
We can see your notes as well.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, I'll tell you, I'll just go back to my slides and just hope for the best. Okay. Share screen. Let's see if that works.
Looks good.
Looks good, but doesn't work. Oh,
here we go.
That change? Good.
Yeah,
okay, all right. Sorry about that, folks. The technology gods have taken a break there. Apologies for that. Okay. It's really great to hear the voice of journalists and designers like Emma and Christine and their personal accounts of reporting events that changed Ireland and the campaigns that made those changes happen. I think you can underestimate personal testimony, but it is really so valuable and so wonderful when we have the opportunity to hear it. So thanks so much for that. The National Library has been collecting, preserving and making available the record of our country since the library's foundation in 1877. And that phrase, the record of our country, might not sound that exciting. But listening to Emma and Christine, we can hear and we can see that it really is. Our record is creative, beautiful, sophisticated, inspiring. It's also enraging, shocking, sometimes shameful, sometimes fascinating and moving. And today, so much of it is online and digital. And the goal of libraries and archives can be summarised in a phrase from our colleagues in the National Archives in the UK. Access is what we're preserving. And I think that's so true. It's always been the case for libraries and archives, but the shift to digital and the web has changed things for all of us. The centenary of 1916 was marked by the largest ever programme of state and public commemorative events. And it's really notable and obvious that that was communicated largely online. And this was the website that did it, designed by Big O. But our living online record is in many ways more fragile than paper. Campaign artwork might be safer on the wall than on the web. The site that Emma designed, as she said, Yes Equality, is no longer on the live web. And the content on the 2016 site you saw there previously, that's completely changed now. And that's absolutely typical, because within 100 days, a website can change, move or disappear. Within a year of publication, 80% of websites are gone or unrecognisable. lost to future users. Websites are temporary, they're ephemeral things, and they're gone unless we take steps to preserve them. So I guess, what are those steps, and how do we make sure that we can save this important digital heritage? Well, the solution to that is through digital preservation, where libraries, archives, and other organisations collect and manage digital resources to ensure access to the future. And the particular approach to saving the online record is through a web archive. But what exactly is that? Well, it's a collection of websites gathered and preserved for long-term access and use. And the National Library carries out web archiving to save our heritage and online record. And my colleague Della Keating began that in 2011. And today, through the work of our web archivist, Maria Ryan, we have over 2,500 websites, and many of those have been archived multiple times over that 10-year period. And you can view them anywhere. They're openly available. You don't have to come into Kildare Street in Dublin to look at them. You can look at them on the web. Our selective web archive is thematic and contains event-based collections as well, including those on politics, referenda, elections since 2011, and Ireland's social, cultural and creative life. We've central and local government records, public sector organisations, and, as you can imagine, content in both the Irish and English languages. And we can see some fresh faces there from 2011, which might not be that youthful now. All of these folks, with the exception of Christy Moore, because we need him for more useful things, all of these folks were new to the Dáil in 2011 as a result of the election that year. And the images that you're looking at are from websites that were archived in that year. And tucked in there is the journal as well. And we've done nearly 250 captures of that site since the very first one, which you're looking at there. A little bit about the web archiving process itself. First of all, capture, where websites are harvested using a tool such as web crawler. Sorry, you can go back there. Capture, such as a web crawler, and then downloaded and stored. The downloaded files are then, in the preservation phase, checked and converted to a preservation file format called a work file format, so that they can be managed over time to ensure continuing access. And the library receives regular deliveries of those work files from our technical partner, and our partner is Internet Archive. And those work files become part of the national collections then. And that means that that web archive data is then permanently held for public benefit, in just the same way as a painting or a craft work becomes part of the collections of the National Gallery, IMA, or the National Museum. And the third part there, playback. Archive websites are presented through a tool that allows them to users to interact with them like the originals. And that's really one of the key aims of our web archiving process, is to replicate the look, feel and function of a site as closely as possible as when the site was on the live web. And obviously that's really, really important in terms of capturing the design quality of any of the sites in the archive. In developing the archive, we work with subject specialists and project partners, and of course the 100 Archive is one of those. And every year they identify sites on the basis of design excellence, and the NLI archives those sites. And we're looking at one of them here. This is Making Ireland Modern, which was designed, the website was designed by New Graphic, and it explores the relationship between architecture, infrastructure, technology in the building of a new nation. And it's a concept by John McLaughlin and Gary Boyd for the Irish Pavilion at the 2014 Venice Biennale, and that later became a part of the Arts Council programming. And I think it's really notable that almost 40% of sites which are submissions to the 100 Archive are from the cultural sector. Design is a key part of our cultural expression, and we want to preserve this as fully as possible, both in our physical and in our digital collections in the National Library. There's another key aspect to the value of archiving the web. It's needed more than ever in the digital world. Ensuring provenance, authenticity and integrity, that they're not changed, of the collections has always been a core element of library work and archive work. And the NLI aims to ensure this too for all stages of the life cycle of the digital record, from pre-acquisition to access. The library holds outstanding collections of the work of Irish journalists. The print newspaper collections cover 5 centuries, and the web archive continues that tradition today. And of course, our print collections continue to develop as well. Newspapers have been described as the first draft of history. And today, so much of that draft is through online journalism. On the 22nd of May 2015, we didn't know the result of the marriage equality referendum, but we can see, and you can see that from the journal of that date, but 2 days later we did know, and you can see that on the t-shirts of the two people pictured here. And this photograph is from Paul Sharp. It's from the archive of the Yes Equality campaign, which was donated to the library through the great generosity of the campaign's co-directors, Gráinne Healy and Brian Sheehan, and the dedication and foresight of the curator, Carl Hayden, and help from our own Elizabeth Kerwin in the National Library. These photographs form part of another strand of Born Digital collecting in the library. It's the second strand, and that is pilot projects to develop, document and trial new workflows that are needed to collect unique digital content and unique digital archives that have never existed in any other way other than digitally. The three archives we have are Marion Keyes' The Mystery of Mercy Close, and the campaign archives of Waking the Feminist and Yes Equality. And along with my colleagues Della and Kieran, we're working on the archive of photographs commissioned by the campaign, which documented that campaign. And I think looking here, hopefully you can see the landscape of digital preservation and how it's realised from the public communications of the Yes Equality campaign through its website, now preserved in the NLI Web Archive, through the organisational records of the campaign and its photographs, which forms part of our Born Digital pilot project, to the voice of the creator of the design of that, where we heard Emma speak about her work there, and circling right back again to the work of Christine and her other colleagues and online journalists, seeing the campaign, how it progressed and the results of that reported in real time. So hopefully you can see the whole landscape of that there and how you can preserve it digitally. Archiving for the long term enables playback and authentic preservation of sites, including their design. But that's not the only thing we can do with digital. Emma has given you absolutely fantastic examples there of how we can take cultural heritage data from the online world and make it part of a physical experience. We're looking here at another way we can use cultural heritage online data. This is from Derek Green from the School of Computer Science in UCD, who used our web archive data from 2016 to produce this network analysis of Oireachtas.ie. How users, designers and journalists want to use the archived web is emerging. While methods of discovery and access for physical collections are familiar to us, given millennia of library and archive work with physical collections, discovery in digital collections is new and developing in many exciting ways. And the more web data we have, the more ways that this can develop. But there is an issue. Like other national libraries, the NLI would like to carry out at-scale crawls of our country's domain. In Ireland, it's .ie. But Ireland has fallen behind 60% of other EU countries, as we still don't have that legislation to enable this preservation. And the National Library continues to advocate for this change to our legislation, which is needed to prevent irretrievable loss of the record of our national web space. The websites that we are saving today represent work of designers and journalists, and they're going to be used in ways that we can't even imagine right now. The shift to digital offers opportunities to designers and journalists and others to be both part of web archives in terms of their own work, and also to reuse our collections in new ways, such as data visualization, data journalism, and actually bring it into the physical space. Our ways of understanding the record of digital communications in word and image, design and information is growing and developing, just as the collections are themselves. And you can start exploring them from the homepage here, nli.ie. And if you'd like to hear more about our selective web archive, we're hosting an event, World Digital Preservation Day, on the 4th of November, and a web archivist, Maria Ryan, will be speaking at that. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Joanna. I am never more inspired or excited or feel kind of more revved up about digital preservation, about creating records of born digital materials, of keeping a digital archive of anything and everything we can, than when I hear you talk about it. So I think that was such a brilliant conclusion to the presentations this evening.